My wish for the future for Vervet Monkeys is that the positive attitude to monkeys that is growing all the time, that continues and increases from members of the public who support the protection of these animals, that legislation that is needed to protect them becomes a reality, that the people who would wish them harm are dealt the hand that they deserve, and that is one that doesn't allow them to promote negativity towards vervets, that the monkeys' habitat is protected, that the cruelty perpetrated against them becomes less and less, and that we start having a society that becomes so tolerant of their presence that we see a future where there is harmony and peaceful coexistence in the areas where monkeys and humans share a common area, where they share a common purpose, and that is to be able to survive successfully and happily, and that monkeys are not demonized to the point where people want to harm them or are intolerant of their presence. Well, they're a monkey that's about the size of a small dog, like a Jack Russell. The male body size wise, more or less. The female's more like about the size of an average cat. They're grey. Their fur can differ in intensity of the color depending on which part of the country they're in, the climate and the temperature, average temperature, and also what they eat. They've got black faces, and adults have got a white brow with white hair coming down part of their face, so they're very, very distinguishable. In fact, I think they're probably the most atypical and most handsome monkeys of all monkeys in the world, irrespective of the colors that some exotic monkeys have. Vervet monkeys are about as monkey as you can get, and nobody would not be able to identify one once they'd seen it and been told that's a vervet monkey.
What I find most fascinating about the vervet monkeys is that they are found everywhere in Durban. And we actually quite lucky that we get to see them so up close and personal. I love seeing them get up to their usual antics and doing all this grooming, and they're so playful, and they're actually very similar to humans.
I think the vervet monkeys are not only 92% of our DNA, but the social behavior is very much like humans as well. We feel stronger in a group, in a family. We need the support from the family. You need your mom, dad, your grandparents, the wisdom, and the discipline which gets, oh, somebody's awake now, which gets dished out, and so do these little ones need it.
Climate in general, fascinating. Being a human is part of primate as well. I mean, it's always quite interesting to find out the other part of us, how they live, how they behave, the problem they face with extinction, and who really the cause of those problems. No matter at the end of the day, it will end up becoming ourselves, human. But it's quite interesting, and I've been really fascinated with that. I mean, knowing the other half of us.
I think I love him so much because they're so much like people. You can spend a day watching them and it's like watching people, and their family bonds, and even they know boundaries within a troop. They all know what they can and can't do. And I just think from any nature, but me especially with vervets, just look at them and learn, you know. Have a little bit of respect and patience.
So with Vervet Monkey specifically, they live in really organized and structured family groups. So what happens is that the females are natal to the troop, which means that they stay in the same troop for their entire lives. And the males have the opportunity to disperse once they hit sexual maturity. And even though it's the male's job to provide good genes and security to the troop, it's the females which actually hold the cards to the hierarchy. So it's just within a troop, there's generally one boy who is kind of first pick of the girls, and then all of the other boys falling behind that.
Yeah, so vervet monkeys are very complex species and elicit very polar opinions.
The vervets are cute. However, the vervets can be too much. They come to my house. Sometimes I have to make sure that I leave the doors and windows open, closed, because they take anything and everything. They eat a lot, but they're not dangerous. They're harmless. They're just chaotic.
My general opinion of the vervets is they were here first. We need to live with them. We need to live constructively next to them, be safe, make sure your doors are locked, make sure your windows are closed. They're not going to harm you. They're only here looking for food. They're just trying to look after their families the same as we are.
Well, I think they're a damn nuisance. And quite frankly, as Ian said, I think they need to be controlled. And hopefully, well, I don't think that will ever happen, but yeah, I don't enjoy them.
The vervet monkeys have nothing against them. I know that they certainly have a place in our ecosystem, you know. Frankly, they've been here long before us, so they should be here. It's just really sad that they're scavenging the way they do, looking for food. We shouldn't be afraid of them, but they're afraid of us more than we are of them.
Look, vervets are a nuisance, I know that, but they also have a right to be around. We've invaded their space, so we need to now accommodate them and move them elsewhere where they are not a nuisance.
The vervet monkey is actually a nuisance to the residents in Chatsworth. They basically raid everything that we grow. They come through and upset the bins and take away a lot of the food that we have stored. So we have to basically live in isolation all the time.
I don't believe in culling them. I don't know, we need to look for a solution about how to live with them, coexist with them, but I don't believe in culling them. I believe we need to preserve them to have a place here.
I strongly disagree. They should not be shot or put down or anything like that. They have as much right to be here as we do.
I just feel that the population is too big and they don't have enough food available to them. So they have become a little bit of a nuisance in residential suburbs and that. I do feel like culling would be a kindness to them because they would have more food available to them. So I know it's tricky because we are taking over their home basically. But the problem is their numbers have increased. So I don't know. I don't have a solution, unfortunately.
I'm not sure what we can do because the problem we have is that people feed them. And that's why they become so used to humans, because they get food from them. So maybe we need to basically find a way of having their natural habitat restored so that they don't come and encroach on the humans' houses.
They're so used to us, we like family to them. And they know every afternoon they wait for it to come out. They wait for me in the evenings to see what I've got to bring to eat. They actually wait. They know when we're coming because they know they've got a definite meal there.
This is Big Boy here. This is Mr. Spock. You see how his ears go like that guy from Starship Enterprise. See the ears going back? He's got the Mr. Spock ears. You see that? Hey, Mr. Spock. Come, Mr. Spock. Look at his ears. Get a shot of his ears there. How's it? My name's Mark. We're here on North Beach in Durban, beautiful paradise beachfront. Stay in the bush here at the back of me with these monkeys, and they're beautiful little creatures. I know them, they're like the only friends I've got. I'm with them every day. At night I make my fire inside and they jump around the fire. They always dig in my stuff though, which really pisses me off sometimes. But there's nothing I can do about that. But you know, these are such lovely little guys, you know. Some people come past here, they chase the monkeys. The dogs are always trying to attack them. The different troops are always fighting. We're trying to keep them from fighting with each other. And then you get the mommies with the little babies. You know, these are such cute little guys, but their lives are also in danger, you know. You see how they eat out of my hand. These guys are such friendly little guys because they've got to know me over the years, you know. These are cool little animals, you know. I can't understand how someone would want to hurt them or treat them badly, how the dogs come. A couple of weeks ago, you asked Auntie Carol, who brings me nuts sometimes to give them. A guy was walking past and he had a pit bull, American pit bull. And the pit bull saw the monkeys and he ran towards the monkey and the leash snapped. And he grabbed a monkey in his mouth and he was throwing the monkey around like that and he didn't want to let go. And I'm telling the guy, let the monkey, you know, tell your dog, and the dog got like lockjaw, didn't want to let the monkey go. So the dog's owner is punching the dog in the head and he doesn't want to let the monkey go. And then I remembered when I was a lighty on the farm to get a pit bull to open his mouth when he got locked. You put your finger in his bum and he opens his mouth. So I said to the guy, I'm going to help you to get your dog, but don't fight with me. I'll open your dog's jaw. And he said, okay, do whatever you've got to, because he's punching the dog and the dog wouldn't open his jaw. So I put my thumb in the dog's bum and he let the monkey go. Shame, but that monkey still got the scars on his back where the dog grabbed him, hey? Yes, see.
Okay, wait. Mark, you carry the bag now. Okay. Hi, my name is Eveline, and I've been feeding the monkeys for the past 7 years, but mostly over the lockdown when I realized that there were actually no food for them, because I think they depend mostly on humans and what they throw in bins and stuff, and during the lockdown there was absolutely nothing. They were coming into our buildings and trying to look for food, scavenging in the bins, and I had them all to myself during lockdown because there were nobody to stop me or anything of that sort, because they used to come across the road onto outside my building basically. They totally misunderstood. People just don't. They're just innocent animals that are trying to survive, just like how we are trying to survive in this world as well. I'm not an advocate for monkey feeding. I'm an advocate for monkeys, basically, you know. And if I know that they need to eat, and I'm not doing it because I want to come feed monkeys, whatever. It's just I also feed stray cats and whatever animal that I possibly can. And I just basically want to be able to do this for as long as I can without being interrupted or being made it like it's a huge crime. There's worse things happening in this world than people feeding monkeys, basically.
Yeah, I think the jury's still out on whether feeding is an appropriate management intervention, and I really I don't think we know enough to be able to say absolutely this is a way to go, because things change in the environment, and you know, landowners that potentially are feeding move on, and those vervets have become accustomed, and they do become accustomed to those feeding stations, and if someone moves on or financially can't afford it anymore, then what? So I really, at this point in time, I don't think we know enough to be able to say feeding stations are the way to go, but also on the flip side is we don't know enough to say, well, they're not the way to go. So I think, you know, those are some of the things where we do try and partner with tertiary institutions to try and implement research, because research is going to form the basis of a good management intervention.
What happens is that wildlife, once food is provided for, they lose their natural instinct of going and foraging and looking for natural food. So to avoid the problem here in Durban, providing food for the vervet monkeys should not be done.
For every house feeding the monkeys, within a 5-house radius, someone will be shooting them. So, you know, with supplementary feeding, here in KZN specifically, the three main food groups which are being fed out is bread, bananas, and apples. Apples are definitely creating tooth decay in young monkeys. Bananas have been proven, and zoos around the world have actually stopped feeding out bananas because it's been proven to cause protein deficiencies in primates specifically. And these protein deficiencies, especially in females who are lactating or who are currently pregnant, they can cause the females to drop the babies a lot earlier, or the babies will grow exponentially, you know, within the womb, and the females can't actually pass the baby when, you know, when they're giving birth. And then bread isn't good for people, you know, never mind wildlife, and it creates a false sense of fullness. So monkeys aren't meeting the energy requirement, you know, the energy budget requirement for the day for the amount of energy that's being expelled.
As long as they don't learn that food is being provided, because they are very intelligent and clever animals, they actually learn that I need to go to this house because this person is going to be giving me food at this time. So they actually have like specific areas and houses that they already learned because they're that clever. But this also becomes a problem because now that they've lost their fear for man, they cannot distinguish which is a good human and which is a bad human. Like, yes, this human is going to provide me food, but then next door, I'm getting shot at every other day, and then the neighbor on the other side is providing me bread, and then I'm getting poisoned and then the whole troop gets wiped out. So now we're having this conflict of whole troops being poisoned because somebody said it's okay to feed. Now, with people, we are having conflict with each other as neighbors, and then we are producing that illness on the animals, which is wrong. I believe it's wrong.
So there's something that we refer to as solution-caused problems, and feeding is one of those things. So ultimately what that is it is a short-term solution which has run-on effects and consequences which are dire to a population afterwards. So the 5 main threats which we are seeing monkeys face are only enhanced by feeding.
I think the vervets are in dire straits for sure. We've had a lot of urban sprawl, a lot of new areas have sprung up, a lot of what little pockets of natural bush that were left have been decimated and houses built, complexes and houses. The traffic has grown phenomenally over the last couple of years, and these animals just are really battling in suburbia to survive. It's a hard life for them. Apart from their normal natural predators, they're having to deal with speeding motorists, lack of food because of the way the natural bush has been decimated, and people don't plant the right plants in their garden. So they've got lack of food, they've got dogs, they've got electric fencing, they've got pellet shooting, they've got poisoning, being killed on the roads. I mean, it's just endless. Endless.
About 90% of the monkeys that come through our facilities, we x-ray the majority of them, and even if they didn't come in for a gunshot wound, we'd find pellets within their bodies.
Remember that because of the intensification and the increased stress in these animals, the troops are really vying for very limited resources. We have found that there's a lot more inter-monkey aggression over the last couple of years, and I think this is because of their stress levels being increased while they're fighting for ever diminishing resources. And so actually they just need a bit of help.
We're very concerned about the use of poisons in the environment. So much so that there's a national poisoning prevention working group that's been formed, because all forms of wildlife are impacted upon poison, not just vervet monkeys, vultures. That's one of the biggest threats to our vulture species, is people poisoning them. So the use of poisons is also governed by legislation, that you can't use poisons for off-label purposes. It's not only around the impact upon the wildlife, but often that then enters and impacts upon humans as well. There was a case in Hilton about 4 or 5, can't remember how many years ago, where a guy put out poison in a banana for the monkeys, and the domestic worker ate the food. And so that's why this National Poison Prevention Working Group was established, because we are very concerned around the misuse of poisons in South Africa.
Despite the fact that a lot of anti-monkey people are saying, the numbers are growing out of control, they've got no natural predators in suburbia, actually, the numbers are definitely dropping. There's no two ways about it.
The vervet population, you hear different stories from different people, but you need data. You need hard data. And all I can tell you is that when we came here to this house, my troop was 32, and it built up until it was nearly 70. And then it split. And they ranked, the vervets are ranked in their troop. And the lower section moved off to the university, and it split there into various troops. And my troop never reached 32 again. And at the moment, it's 18. And that's not really viable as a monkey troop. It needs to be about 30. So now we've got all these isolated little pockets of vervets all over the place. And people say, oh, they're breeding like crazy. They don't. It's recorded that they have their babies throughout the year.
So the concern with regards to the overpopulation of vervets in Durban specifically, that's something we get calls about every single day. And from the research that UKZN has actually done, it's completely incorrect. The population is not growing, but it's the incidence at which we are seeing vervet monkeys in urban areas which is growing. So a species is not going to exceed the constraints of the environment. So that could be space, it could be food availability. There's numerous resources and environmental factors that are dependent on breeding and whether or not a troop is going to increase. And a troop is not going to increase if they know that there's going to be competition for these resources. So at the end of the day, it's just the incidence in which we are seeing the animals in our areas, which is actually increasing.
There is no natural or an overpopulation of monkeys. You must keep in mind that a female vervet monkey has to be 4 years old before she'll come into estrus for the first time and be able to be mated and end up having a baby 5.5 months later to 6 months later in the same year that she is mated. And then only in the following year will she come into estrus again, and then the cycle will happen again. However, the mentality about monkey overpopulation is also influenced by people's thinking of domestic animals, and specifically cats, because there's a massive overpopulation of cats. Domestic cats that are in people's homes as well as feral cats. So a female cat, at the minimum, will be responsible, in the time it takes a female vervet to have one baby, she will produce over 500 cats. Just the female line alone. 500 to 1. That's the comparison between monkeys and cats. So you can understand that there's no overpopulation of cats, and certainly no overpopulation of monkeys.
Currently, vervet monkeys are classified as least concern in terms of the latest red data list that was published in 2016 in South Africa. And that classification is in accordance with the IUCN red listing process. So basically what that means, it's of least concern because there's considered it's abundant and is not threatened. If someone had to ask me how many vervet monkeys are there in KZN, I can't tell you that. What I can tell you is they are widespread. They definitely are increasing into areas where they previously didn't occur. A lot of that data is obtained through citizen scientists, through reportings from members of the public, through our engagement with private landowners saying, guys, I've been on this property for 30 years, and in the last 5 years, I've seen vervet monkeys now coming into the property where I've grown up here. I've never seen them before and stuff. So a lot of it is through citizen scientists, through when there are research projects, we do get that kind of data and stuff. So, and when we look at the national classification, they are widespread, and people are reporting an increase in their range. So that would show that they actually are growing, so definitely not decreasing.
So most studies, ideally we would like to collect data from a wide time period. This allows us to find trends and patterns that are consistent with what happens in nature. The higher quantity of data will result in high quality results. And as scientists, we do statistical analysis, and this would give us a probability of what will or what if or what can happen in nature. And this depicts on the data that's gathered by simple observations. And then finally, we report all the data visually, such as in graphs and maps and population counts and estimates and things like that. Yeah.
I was very proud in that I was chosen as the first woman to serve on the Natal Parks Board. And the Natal Parks Board guys were pretty good. I mean, they were excellent and they loved their job. And I was a member of Wildlife Society. We call it WESA now. The PhD by Kate Harrison that she did here on the Vervet Monkeys here in Westville. Nice big fat tome. We had a paper mache monkey, a male monkey, well endowed in every way. And because we noticed that when the alpha male arrived, he had a presence. And he would sit on top of the roof and occasionally yawn and show his incisors and show his teeth. And otherwise he'd strut his stuff. Nice arched tail so that you could see his gonads, nice blue balls, nice pink penis. It was great. And everybody would show him obeisance. Not only that, but he would sit being lord of the manor, and the babies would come, and if he was eating, those little babies would even jump on him and pull his mouth open and take his food out. I was watching to see the reaction, and the next minute our paper mache monkey went down the hill, and they were cross with him. So we patched him together again and put him back. Now this time he was sitting, pushed it down. He's sitting so his tail was down, but his mouth was open so you could see his incisors, made by paper, by the way, but never mind, paper mache teeth. But there he was with his mouth open, and the alpha male of the troop came in and took him out again. And so with our paper mache, we proved conclusively that a monkey with his arched tail walking in the territory of another troop, he'd be taken out.
They've got their hierarchy, they've got their structures. They've got their rules in their troops. It's not just willy-nilly that they do things. Everything is done in a pattern, in a process, same as us humans. When I walked around the bluff after one of our storms, and, we used to feed them, like when you do prayers and stuff, leave the fruit outside, they used to come and take it, didn't have an issue with it. They used to fight amongst themselves for the food. And then I realized through walking around the area and the neighborhood, there's actually not a lot of things for them to forage and eat. There is no food in a sense. We started just taking care of them, and it just literally one thing led to another, and I got more involved with them. It also stemmed from a lot of my culture in a sense, which I didn't really tie up when I was younger, but one of our Hindu deities is Hanuman, who's basically a monkey. And I realized, okay, we do all of these things, but we persecute the actual animal. We're praying to a picture of what we perceive to be God. And here he is standing in front of us, really a monkey. I mean, if we have depicted him as a monkey, surely we can also worship him in reality. So on that part, on the traditional cultural aspect, that's where I tied it up, for me personally.
The threats in the more rural areas, it's more if it's mankind is the biggest threat, the farmers just shoot to kill. And again, I mean, they make me so mal, because if you can shoot the mother, then have the coolness to shoot the baby. Not that I want the baby shot, but we get these babies in, oh, I shot the mother, but I couldn't shoot the baby. What's wrong with you? It doesn't make sense, because I don't want either to be shot. What I'm saying is shoot neither.
If you want to learn and if you want to understand and live in harmony with these monkeys, you will make the effort. You can't expect the vervet monkeys to make the effort. We have to make the effort, you know?
Sometimes we are able to treat a monkey in the field and then, release them straight back to their troop. Whereas other times for minor injuries, they can get brought back to the center. That includes stuff as, if there's concussions or, minor injuries that don't actually need to be operated on. Otherwise, the monkeys are taken straight to our vets where they get x-rays and have whatever op they need.
Probably about 75% of the monkeys we rescue end up dead. Either they're dead by the time we arrive, or they die en route to the vet, or they get euthanized at the vet, or they die within a few days or weeks of being taken to the center here and kept and looked after, but don't recover from the severity of the injury or the illness that they had. Okay, we're on our way to Palmeet Nature Reserve in Westville. We just had a call from one of the workers there to say that there's a young monkey dragging itself through their parking area. It seems like it's obviously had a severe injury to the back. It's paralyzed in its lower body. So we're rushing there now, trying to beat the dark, and before the monkey drags itself into the bushes where we won't find it. And yeah, that's it. We're on our way, Jan Hofmeyer, and as far as Palmeet, which is just down the road here. Fortunately, we weren't very far away. So let's hope for the best, and it doesn't sound good for the monkey, but we'll only know once we get that little one to a vet.
Stuff. Okay, got him. It's not a baby, that. All right, it's all right, Curly. Watch your head, Steve. Watch your head.
Oh, I think her back's broken. Yeah, I can feel her.
She's being shot.
I can't see anything, but I can feel crepitus right here at the bottom of my hand. Maybe hit by a car.
Oh, I'll have a look for the X-ray. It's okay. Come on.
That we've now caught a very easy capture. She couldn't really get away. She'd got stuck underneath a little low-growing tree, and the next step is to get her to our vet to establish what is the cause of her paralysis, and if it's something that cannot be treated, is irreparable, then she'll have to be euthanized. So we're going to take her now, make her comfortable, contact our vet and find out when we can bring her in, and as soon as we can do that, we'll get her to the vet and decision will be taken. Okay, so we've just arrived at Riverside Vet with these two little monkeys. One of them has already been treated by Kerry previously. It was bitten by dogs on the weekend, by monkeys at least, facial injuries. And the little one in the front here we rescued this morning in Westville, and this little one has also been bitten by a monkey in its face. It got left behind by its troop. The troop was just down the road actually when we went to rescue it. So we managed to get the little thing off a roof, caught it, and we brought it down to the vet now for treatment. I don't know whether they'll go back to their troops again, but we'll see. Usually babies bitten like this and left behind by the mother are often tag-alongs, which means that the mother's dead or seriously injured somewhere and can't look after them. And sometimes they're being looked after by a sibling that's a bit older But the sibling will only carry them and look after them for so long before they lose, not interest, but they just find it difficult to take care of this little one and take care of themselves. So these two youngsters are going to Kerry today, and we're taking them into the vet now. And then, of course, sadly, we have the usual package of dead monkeys that we carry through to the vet every single day. Terrible, the numbers of monkeys that die, and not a day goes by that I don't walk with a bag like this in my hand. So we're going to put them in the freezer and they'll be sent off to be incinerated. And fortunately, all the vets take them in for us, and the vets don't charge for taking them in and looking after their bodies until the company comes along that will take them away and incinerate them. So we don't have to bury hundreds of monkeys. They do that for us.
Unless they're literally half or 3/4 dead or knocked out completely, all the monkeys have to be sedated before we do any procedures. Even though they look badly injured, as soon as you start handling them, it is a wild animal, and so they will react as if you're trying to kill them.
Glad they emptied the freezer for us again.
I've been working for Riverside Vet for 19 years now, and probably the last 18 years of that I've been helping Monkey Helpline with their monkey work, which has grown phenomenally over the last couple of years.
It's a little boy, probably about 3 months old, and that looks like it's probably a bite from another monkey. And the fact that it was left behind is an indication that it's a little tag along, no mommy involved. And now Dr. Eason is going to take a look and see if she can clean that area and then pull its skin back. It looks like we probably can, but he has got a lot of infection. It's very smelly. What would have happened is, because there's no mommy to keep the injury clean, flies would have laid eggs around the injury, and with all the sebum leaking, they would have laid eggs around it, and then they've hatched. And these have hatched a while ago. They're quite big now. This is not very good.
But this is amazing stuff. Watch the maggots come pouring in. Do you want me to get a piece of paper for you?
This product actually doesn't just kill them, as in the past we used to use, what did they used to use? Like a...
Hepatane?
Yeah, it used to actually kill them in the injury, and that was a problem because...
And peroxide.
They would decay inside, but this actually makes them want to come out. It's very ugly.
If you see some of the injuries, you think this animal will never live, and they heal up that you can hardly even see a mark on them. Because these are animals that heal unbelievably. So we've learned over the 18 years that some of these things you can actually give them a chance and they do survive.
Hello.
There you go.
Hello. There we go. So we got a fresh delivery. Got these animals just now, started at 3 o'clock this morning. Picked these guys up from Johannesburg International Airport. They flew all the way from East London to here. Typically confiscated animals, animals that were hurt, and then the center down there then actually just accumulates them, stabilizes them until there's quite a bit. Because of the cost associated with that, it only makes financial sense when we actually get enough animals together to warrant one trip go up. So at this current point in time, we've got 2 animals that is in quarantine. This one, you notice, we put in here now, and then there's another one in that box that we will put into a cage as well. And then we've got 4 babies that we will put into another enclosure. So these animals will spend the next 40 days in quarantine, making sure that they are completely clean of any endoparasites. Visually, there's no ectoparasites, so I'm very happy with that. Do a TB test and make sure that these guys get a certificate of fit health, and then the assimilation process into the rest of the rehabilitation program will start for these guys. So yeah, it's a good day.
Oh. Look at this one. You see what I'm saying? The sound that I make now, that is a warning for danger. You can see the reaction of the animal. One of the young babies responding to my call. I'm Bob Venter. I am a primatologist, registered with the World Director of Primatologists, and I'm also an educator, and I sit with the South African Bureau of Standards for Wildlife Rehabilitation and Animal Welfare. And yeah, I've been busy now going on 30 years working with the animals. So what we got here now is that this is introduction enclosure. Through the fence, they will start making friends with the ones that's already been introduced into the natural environment where the rehabilitation is taking place. So inside there, they will learn how to forage, what to eat, how to interact with others and integrate with others, whatever it is. And a good example, as you can see, these are young ones. They're last year's babies, and we've put them in here now, and here they're already in the system. Right in the back, you can see how they're playing and whatever it is. So once they go inside there, in the main enclosure, they're going to live off natural vegetation, so we will not supplement their food. So this process of rehabilitating a vervet monkey, you're looking at the quickest possible way will be most probably about 3 years, and then we can release them.
They do have blue balls, but technically the male with the shinier, bluer balls is considered to be a male with good genes, and obviously alpha, high-rank female will be attracted first for the shinier, bluer balls. Monkeyland is a 12 hectares forest. There is a fence surrounding Monkeyland. It's a 7 meters high fence, electrified to the top, but on top of that, you can never put high voltage because you will kill them. It's just something to, shake them a little bit. They can go out if they want to, but at the end of the day, they don't really feel like going out. The need for them to go out has been taken away. They get fed. There is no predator. They do have enough space to roam around, so they don't really feel like going out. If you want to test that, put in one predator, run for their life, they will definitely go out. Or don't feed them. They will have to go extra mile to look for food. They will go out. We educate our visitor about the plight of primate. Primate do not make a good pet. Primate are social creature. Once they miss that, usually that's where they become aggressive. Why they always take them when they are young, they are nice, they are cute, whatever, because they are still immature. And once they reach the age of maturity, usually that thing change because they're adult. They have to become themselves. They miss that social gathering. Once they miss that, they become unpredictable.
Pooja, Pooja, do you copy?
Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to know what's going on with your monkeys.
They're being very cute. They're all just snoozing on like quite low branches in these trees. So yeah, they would be good. Nice to film if you want to.
So I guess we'll have a little look around on your side. Can you do just a cooey for us? Cooey. So I'm Professor Erica van der Waal from the University of Lausanne in Switzerland. I'm working in animal behavior, but many people call me a primatologist because since my master I've been focusing on primates and more specifically on vervet monkeys. I discovered them during my master project in 2005 in South Africa, and I've been sticking around since then. So I'm interested in the evolution of cognition. How did we finally have this huge brain and are able to do tons of things, and what are they able to do? And all what is done in cognitive research is always either in the lab or in zoos. And what I want to do is compare the abilities of vervets in both captive and wild setup. And I think their brain is quite different structure because they have a lot more challenges in their daily life. Yeah, so the groups I'm working on are fully wild. They were here before we started the Inca Vervet project 10 years ago. The males just disperse between groups. We cannot control where they go. The group themselves have quite a stable home range, but will really fluctuate depending on the season and how much food is available. And also if the group expand with more babies, then they might also expand. And when we had a very big drought, 2016-17, then all the group have been splitting in 2 units because there wasn't enough food to sustain large groups. So that we had some tough years for the monkeys. Yeah, so the project has really a goal to do research and like fundamental scientific discoveries, but we try as much as possible to communicate with the public and also engage with the media as soon as we have interesting results coming out. We also were going sometimes to local schools around to explain about vervets and why you should care for wildlife in general, but also those more pest species that actually they were there before, and it's more us who have to adapt our behavior to them.
So, hi there, I'm Silke von Einan. I'm the founder of Bambalela Wildlife Care, and we started 2003 with normal common game antelopes. Then we went to predators. We went pretty much through a lot of wildlife in need until 2005, and then these little ones touched my heart, found me. I didn't look for them, and since then it's Vervet Monkey in rehabilitation, release and rescue. As Bambalela Wildlife Care, our vision is that wildlife who has been compromised, persecuted, habitat loss due to us humans encroaching everywhere, that wildlife is indeed in need of help to survive and for future generations to enjoy. So my mission is to help where they are injured, where they are orphaned, help them, especially the vervet monkeys, build new troops, give them new families, and the ultimate goal is freedom. So we hand raise, we heal, but we give freedom back. So that's number one.
Hi, my name is Belinda. I'm working at Bambalela Vervet Monkey Rehabilitation Center, NPC. We rescue, rehabilitate and release vervet monkeys.
So this is our kindergarten cage. This is where all the youngsters and the babies go in for the first year of their life here at Bambalela. Hello, Peanut. Each monkey in this cage is orphaned. Every single monkey here or kept as a pet. I've got the younger ones over here which came in 2020 season babies, and a little bit older ones are 2019 babies. The mothers are either shot, hit by a car, or people think it's cute to keep one as a pet, and they will actually physically go out and kill the mother to shoot them to have the baby as a pet. I don't know if you can see there that big female, her name is Bola. Bola. Come Bola. So Bola came into us in 2010. She was kept as a pet, and she was kept in a small bird cage, and all she could do all day was turn in circles. She wasn't okay. She was damaged, mentally damaged, and we put her with babies, and that seemed to pull her out of it. She's doing so good, and she's one of the best surrogate moms that we've had in the kindergarten. So this is our rehabilitation troops. We have 5 at the moment here, 5 different cages, 5 different troops. In our enclosures, you'll see we try to make them as high as possible and as big as possible, as monkeys love heights. They love climbing, they love jumping, they love swinging. And in these cages, that's where the pre-rehab troops get moved to, where they have to do the rest of exercising, jumping around, like I said, on the swings, and working their muscles. One can't expect having them in a small cage and one day releasing them that they'll just be able to jump from one tree to another. And that's why these cages are so important, where they can exercise and form their family.
So this is the Monkey Helpline Rehabilitation and Sanctuary Centre on the Maibuyu Community Game Reserve, and we're very proud of what we've managed to achieve here. It's taken a lot of hard work and effort, but it was very needed for the monkeys. What we have here is a centre that can accommodate sanctuary as well as rehab monkeys, and we've also built a clinic so that monkeys that are in high care can come across here, and then they can recoup here before they actually go to the next level of building back their strength and getting strong enough to be released. So of course that's first prize. So for us, being able to release monkeys back to their troop, it's always first prize. If they can't go back, then they go into rehabilitation, they get bonded with other monkeys. Our babies that come in that are orphans, you can't put baby orphans back with any troop, so they've got to be joined with a rehabilitation troop, and they come here.
We've got 14 cages that contain monkeys that will ultimately be bonded to being rehabilitation or permanent sanctuary monkeys. In order to be able to release them, we've got to find a place where we can release them, and that has to be approved by KZN Wildlife. It's got to be able to accommodate monkeys, and you ask yourself, well, if it's good for monkeys, why aren't there monkeys there? And in most of those places, the monkeys there have been annihilated by either local hunters or by game farmers, or they have been shot because they are using part of what crops have been planted in the vicinity. Hey, you. Well, I started off with primates really in a more intense context than with other individual species or groups of animals, purely by accident. It wasn't that I selected them and thought that I liked them more, that they're nicer to work with. In fact, they're not nice to work with. They smell, they leave a lot of urine and feces all over their enclosures. They can be very aggressive in captive situations because of the not being able to live normal lives. But they're amazingly intelligent, and once you get to know the babies and then through the age groups, you get to appreciate each age group for what it brings to the party, and they really are amazing animals. They as I said earlier, they're highly intelligent, and yes, you learn a lot about life just by watching Vervet Monkey troop life. In the 5 years we've been here, the total number of monkeys we have here has only increased by 35 in total. So we're on 34 actually. We're on 279 monkeys on this property, as opposed to the 245 that we introduced here 5 years ago. So as you can see, we don't hoard monkeys, and they're all destined for either sanctuary life or for release. Every single one of these monkeys, we've actually received a phone call, and we've driven out and done a rescue. And they're only a fraction of the monkeys we've actually rescued. Our vision is to provide the public with the knowledge that it needs to be able to understand who, as I said, monkeys are, why they're here, what their behavior is all about, and how to peacefully coexist with them. That is our vision. Over and above that is to change legislation in the province and then ultimately countrywide to protect these animals from the genocidal persecution that they're subjected to now. And once we have that legislation in place, monkeys will be properly protected. To introduce legislation that will regulate the use of air guns to the point that there is sufficient application of the law by the policing authorities, and to reduce to not an acceptable level, but to the level that becomes impossible to go beyond that, to prevent people from causing the terrible pain and suffering that is caused to monkeys by persecution of monkeys with air guns.
So Crow is South Africa's oldest wildlife rehabilitation centre. We've been going for 40 years now. Our motto is the best cage is an empty cage, meaning that all the animals that come through and go through our rehabilitation process or are brought in as orphans and hand raised here, weaned and eventually ready for release, go back into the wild, which is where they belong.
So I think for anyone working within the animal welfare field, you know, we're driven by passion, and in turn that's driven by emotion. And I think that it's the emotional intelligence of primates that people are drawn to the most. So it's their ability to problem solve and their ability to show emotions that are mirrored in people. And I think that that's pretty incredible.
So as Crow being a non-profit organisation, we don't get any government subsidies whatsoever. So we do rely on corporate donations, grants from foundations, but mainly the public. So primates, for example, we looked at a couple of years back, and they're about 25 Rand per animal per day. So if you're looking at a troop of, say, 20 monkeys, that's 500 Rand a day. Multiply that by 30, it's about 15,000 Rand in a month, just for one troop. And at the moment, we've currently got multiple troops here at Crow. So everything adds up, and donations are extremely important. Our volunteer program, unfortunately, due to COVID, fell flat this last year. We are starting to get volunteers trickling in, but that we rely on to generate about half of our overheads.
The most important thing with the rehabilitation of primates is that it's not only the conservation of a species which we're focusing on, it's the preservation of individuals and family groups and adaptations. And I think that's one of the things that people forget about. It's not just about feeding and cleaning enclosures and then at a point releasing the monkeys. You know, when we're talking about survival of the fittest, we're talking about the ability to adapt to an environment. It's not about the biggest or the strongest animal. And that's something that we try and provide here with our rehabilitation program. We take into consideration, you know, dietary requirements and spatial requirements. The process of rehabilitation for vervet monkeys can take up to 4 years. So it is something that you have to put a lot of planning and organization into. And that includes troop structure from day one. Yeah, it's a long process which takes a lot of work. So the final stages of the rehabilitation program is obviously the release. We strongly believe in releasing every animal that we get into the center, as long as they are going to have a successful release back into the wild. So we are very excited at the moment. We do have a troop that has been here for 4 years now, and we are going to take them up to Pongola to get released up there on a game reserve. There are existing vervets on the reserve, which is really important because obviously we need to ensure that there is going to be genetic diversity and the males can disperse to new groups.
It's taken us over a year to find a release site for our troop of vervet monkeys that are now going into year 4 and 5 of the rehabilitation program. It's a beautiful spot right here in the heart of Zululand, and we think it's ideal for the actual release of the troop.
So we've just gotten to the hacking cage now, which is the release site. We did get stuck in a little bit of mud, but we're about to offload the first box. We've already prepped water and food in the cage for the evening, and we're just busy cutting some branches now just to put something in there for them. So they'll get monitored 3 times a day, just to make sure that there's no aggression in the camp, and they're going to stay in here for 5 days depending on their aggression levels in the cage.
From rescue all the way through to release of these vervet monkeys is quite a long process. It's between 4 and 5 years of actually building troop structures, making sure that you've got the alpha males, alpha and the dominant females in the troop in order to be able to successfully have a release back into the wild. A lot of these animals did come from the urban environments, the urban areas. Some of them have come from different areas around Kwa-Zulu Natal because we do service the whole of Kwa-Zulu Natal. Then it's about building that structure, getting them to a point where you do have old enough animals to be released and to fend for themselves. So this is quite a long-term process. We are trying to shorten the length of the process with new kind of strategies that we put in place. But these guys have been with us for 5 years now, and something that's going to be absolutely amazing when we do let them go is to see that they've been behind a cage for all of their lives, most of them, except for some of the adults that have incorporated into the troops. But to see them in the wild without any boundaries is going to be absolutely fantastic.
What are the solutions? You know, there's unfortunately no silver bullet. So there's not something I can sit here and say, guys, if we just do that, all our problems will be resolved.
I think if you want a solution, you can find one. Google, the libraries, enough of us interested in vervets who can advise. We can tell you how to make your monkey-proof dustbin, how to monkey-proof your windows, things like that, practical things. And don't leave fruit out and leave all the windows open. And fruit on a lovely fruit bowl on your dining room table with every door and window open. I mean, you're asking for problems. The next door kid will jump the fence to come and pinch. I had brothers and they were well fed, but they still went next door to pinch the neighbor's fruit because that's what boys do. And so vervet monkeys will do it as well.
My name's Shirley Winkler. I stay in Queensborough, and in and around Durban there are so many vervet monkeys that are being run over by cars crossing roads and things like that. So I started working on this project, I would say, about 6 months ago. It's a big process where you're trying to see where your most fatalities are. So it was a big process to figure that out. And here in Bellamont Road in Umhloti, what happened was there's a whole lot of vervet monkeys that have been killed in this road because of the blind corner. And we're hoping that the sky bridge will encourage the monkeys to cross on the treetops and not cross on the road. We're going to monitor it. We're going to see how often the monkeys cross on the monkey bridges, how they utilize it. And if it's successful, then we'll be putting it into other places. I think any changes that anybody makes is good. We've gone into the monkeys' territory and we've chased them away. We've taken down their food. And I think if we start planting indigenous trees for food for themselves, you know, putting up bridges across the roads for them and incorporate that into our road planning, that would be good. The other thing is might also stop some accidents because some people come around the corner, they see a monkey in the road and they could swerve and hit another car or go into a ditch. So not only are we taking danger off the roads, but we're making sure that monkeys and things aren't being killed. There's too many young orphaned monkeys out there.
What we can do is we can listen to people and we can work together to find solutions where vervet monkeys are not persecuted, but they do exist within these urban environments.
We have one home, one planet. You might be looking for your Elon Musks and all of them can be looking at other planets. If you can't look after what you have, how are you going to take care of what you find next?
But we would like people to know more about monkeys so that they don't fear them. So they don't feel that they're a threat to their lifestyle in urban areas.
The mindset must be about the animal, not about egos or anything else. It must be about the animal. And you got to lay yourself to that level so you can communicate with that animal on that level and understand what they're going through.
We are supposed to be the pinnacle of evolution. We're supposed to be the most intelligent animals on the planet, and yet we can't solve simple problems in simple ways.
So I can't predict what's going to happen, But I just wish and hope that when I'm dead and gone, the monkeys will still be around to give other people the pleasure they've given me.
So it is release day today. It's day 4 of the monkeys being in the hacking cage. There's been a little bit of aggression between a couple of the males, which was to be expected. But we're about to open up for them. We're going to open up the back corner where the roosting, hopefully their roosting tree is. And yeah, we're going to put some supplementary food down just so that they do have food for the day. Yeah, we're going to see how it goes. Yeah, so this is the end of a 4-year journey, or 4-year rehab journey, and they've obviously got their lives ahead of them in the wild. It's all very exciting. The release went as well as possible, so yeah, very exciting.
The release is highly rewarding for Crow, for all the staff that have put in tireless efforts, and to see them go out into the wild, and enabling us to then be able to take on new troops and new animals. Obviously, always trying to keep below our permit numbers is very important. And so being able to see these guys go back out means we've got space for 33 new monkeys to come back in and go through the process and hopefully shorten that process and get them back out into the wild sooner.